The emergency klaxons had been silent for 3 hours when Commander Aaron finally reached the biocontainment wing. The Vareth boarding party had retreated, leaving behind scorched bulkheads and the acrid smell of plasma burns. But it was the silence that unnerved him most. The absence of screams, of weapons fire, of anything that suggested life remained in this section of the station. His boots crunched over shattered glass as he moved through the research labs. The Vareth were known throughout the galaxy as apex predators, their species having clawed its way to spacefaring status through sheer brutality. Their young, even as cubs, possessed killing instincts that made them dangerous from the moment they opened their eyes, which was why Aaron's hand instinctively moved to his sidearm when he heard the soft cooing sound echoing from Lab 7. The door had been torn from its hinges. Inside, emergency lighting cast everything in shades of red. Aaron raised his weapon and stepped through. Dr. Sarah sat on the floor amid the wreckage, her back against an overturned research console. Her lab coat was torn and stained with blood, though whether it was hers or something else's, Aaron couldn't tell. But it wasn't Sarah that made him freeze. It was the creature in her arms. A Vareth cub, no more than 3 weeks old by Aaron's estimation, was curled against Sarah's chest. Its obsidian scales caught the red light, and its 6 legs were tucked beneath its body in a posture of complete contentment. The ridge of bone spikes along its spine, each one capable of injecting a paralytic venom, lay flat and relaxed. Most impossibly of all, the creature was purring. "Sarah," Aaron whispered, his weapon still trained on the pair. "Don't move." She looked up at him with exhausted eyes. "It's okay, Aaron, she won't hurt me. That's a Vareth cub. It's programmed to kill. Its mother probably left it behind as a—" He stopped as the cub raised its triangular head, fixing him with eyes like molten gold. A low hiss escaped its throat and its bone spikes began to rise. "Lower your weapon," Sarah said calmly. "You're scaring her." "Scaring it?" Aaron's voice cracked with disbelief, but he slowly lowered the gun. The moment he did, the cub's spikes flattened again and it nestled back against Sarah's chest. Aaron approached cautiously, kneeling a few meters away. Now he could see the full extent of the destruction. 3 adult Vareth lay dead across the lab, killed by the station's automated defenses. Scorch marks on the walls suggested they'd been trying to breach the lab's inner vault. And there, amid the carnage, Sarah had somehow survived with their offspring. "What happened?" he asked. Sarah stroked the cub's head with one hand, her movements gentle despite the creature's potential for violence. "They attacked during my shift. I was studying Vareth biorhythms when the breach alarm sounded. I sealed the inner lab, but 3 of them broke through. They were frantic, desperate." She paused, her gaze distant. "That's when I realized. They weren't here to kill us. They were here for her." The cub chirped softly, a sound impossibly innocent coming from a species known for tearing apart prey while it still lived. The matriarch, the largest one, she was carrying the cub when the defense turrets activated. She threw herself over her young when the plasma rounds hit, shielded her with her own body. Sarah's voice wavered. "She looked at me, Aaron. Right before she died, she looked at me, and then she pushed the cub toward me." Aaron felt his throat tighten. The Vareth were monsters. Everyone knew that. They'd waged war across 3 sectors, leaving extinction in their wake. They took no prisoners, showed no mercy, and yet, why would she do that? He asked. Because she knew I'd been watching them. For months I've been observing their behavior, trying to understand them beyond the propaganda and the war reports. She must have seen me studying their parenting behaviors, their family structures. She knew I understood that cubs needed warmth, needed touch, needed— Sarah looked down at the small creature in her arms. Needed love. The word hung in the air like a challenge to everything they'd been taught about the Vareth. Aaron watched as the cub yawned, revealing rows of crystalline teeth capable of shearing through bone. Then it closed its eyes and pressed its snout against Sarah's collarbone, purring like distant thunder. "We tried to give her back," Sarah continued. "When the Vareth ship withdrew, I sent a transmission. Told them we had one of their young, that we'd return her unharmed. Do you know what they responded?" Aaron shook his head. "Nothing. They didn't respond at all. Because in their culture, once a cub is orphaned, it's already dead. They don't have adoption, don't have fosterage. The weak die. That's their way." She met his eyes. "But the matriarch gave her to a human. To the one species in the galaxy stupid enough to nurture things that might one day kill them." A laugh escaped Aaron despite himself. It was true. Humans had a reputation across the stars for their baffling tendency to care for things they shouldn't. They kept predators as pets, raised orphaned aliens, formed emotional bonds with species that barely registered them as sentient. Other races found it bewildering. "Command isn't going to let you keep it," he said quietly. "Her. Not it. Her name is Kess." Sarah's grip on the cub tightened protectively, and they can try to take her. But she imprinted on me in those first hours. She knows my heartbeat, my scent. Watch. She carefully set the cub on the floor. Kess immediately began to wail, a sound of such pure distress that Aaron felt his chest constrict. The cub's claws scrabbled on the tile, searching for purchase, for comfort, for... Sarah reached down and the wailing stopped instantly. Kess climbed back into her arms, wrapped her tail around Sarah's wrist and settled with a contented sigh. "She chose me," Sarah said simply. "Or maybe I chose her. Does it matter?" Aaron looked at the human woman cradling the infant predator, at the tiny creature that should have been humanity's enemy, finding safety in human arms. He thought about the matriarch who, in her final moment, had trusted a human with her most precious thing. He thought about every war, every conflict, every species that had underestimated humanity's capacity for compassion. "No," he said finally, holstering his weapon. "I suppose it doesn't." As he helped Sarah to her feet, careful not to disturb the sleeping cub, Aaron understood something the rest of the galaxy would take years to learn. Humanity's greatest weapon wasn't their technology or their tactics. It was their stubborn, foolish, magnificent refusal to see any creature as beyond saving, even predators. Especially predators.